Okay, ladies and gentlemen of Engineering 2100 for Kingsborough Community College in the fall 2020 semester, we're up to our final Fusion 360 3D drawing project, which is the boat. Make sure you put your initials on the back. If you want, you can put your initials on the side also. You could put your initials on the top if you want also, but they definitely have to be on the back so that I can see them. We're going to go over everything today, including the hull and the deck and the cabin and the pilot's office and the antenna, as well as the paddles on either side and the keel. So how do we begin? Well, we begin in the same way we always begin, which is opening up a brand new design, either by left-clicking and releasing the plus sign over here, or by going to File, New Design. Okay. So I have open my design right here, which I'll be showing you. And right over here, I'll be drawing your design. Now, by the way, my design is 25 millimeters wide by 100 millimeters long. So let's go back to your design. And let's click on top. That's a left click and release. And let's use the scroll wheel and see if we could see the millimeters. Let's see, there you go. Okay, and you know what I'm going to do? We're going to construct some construction lines. So I'm going to come over here to create sketch. I'm going to left click and release. Then I'm going to left click and release right on this plane right here, which is the top right here. I clicked on top. And that way I know where I'm drawing. And I'm going to create some construction lines so we know the area in which we're going to draw. So let me grab a line. That's left click and release. And here we go. So let's see. We want it to be 25, we said, by 100, right? All right, so let's get to the millimeters here. This is in centimeters right now. We have 25 centimeters and 50 centimeters, or it might be in millimeters. Let's see. Go over here. All right, we're in millimeters. This is 25 millimeters and 50 millimeters. So let's just go. I just want to see the actual millimeters because this is in 5 millimeter increments now. I want to see the 1 millimeter increments. So I'm just using my scroll wheel. That's all I'm doing. There we go. So if you use your scroll wheel, you can scroll in and out, obviously. Okay, so let's just use the scroll wheel. And let's get back. There we go. Because now we got 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. Okay, so I'm just going to draw. I'm going to left click and release. And I'm just going to pull this down. Doesn't really matter where we pull it. Left click and release. And we're going to double click on that. And then we're going to come over here and we're going to draw another construction line. I'm going to left click and release. I'm going to go all the way across past 100. And I'm going to double click. I'm going to draw another line right here on 100 because we want our boat to be 25 by 100. So here we go. I'm just going to draw another construction line. I'm going to left click and release, pull it down, and then double click. And then we don't really have to draw a construction line here because we already have the axis, but I'm going to draw it anyway. I'm going to left click and release. I'm going to pull my mouse over and double click. All right, so now this is the area in which we're going to be drawing. And let's just finish that sketch. And now we're going to change the lines I just drew, these 4 lines, into construction lines. So how do we do that? Well, let's see. We should be able to right click and release and edit sketch and then right click and release again. There we go. Right click and release again. Hold on. We're going to delete the coincident. I'm not going to go over what that means, but that's what we have to do. So I'm going to delete the coincident. I'm going to come back to the line again, right click and release, and I'm going to click on normal construction, and you're going to see that that line, which is right now, Fusion 360 now thinks that that blue line is an actual part of the boat, but it's not. It's just a construction line. It's going to be an invisible line that will guide us to drawing the actual boat hull. So I'm going to click on normal construction, and as you can see, it turned into a dotted line. Let's do the next one. Just right click, and there we go. It already gave us normal construction. Well, let's delete coincident first. Left click and release, and then click on that again. And then normal construction. And there you go. And again, right click and release. Left click and release, delete coincident. Right click and release. Left click and release normal construction line. And the same with this. Right click and release. Left click and release, delete coincident. Right click and release. Left click and release normal construction line. All right, so as you can see, we have dotted lines at this point. Okay, so we should be okay. Okay, now let's go back to my drawing and let's see where let's take a look here. Okay, we're going to draw the boat this way. So let's see, right about here, let's see, so this is 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. So right around 50 is where we started angling the boat. I mean, if you want, you can angle the boat at 75. You can make the boat come around this way. Okay, but I'm going to do it at 50. I'm going to follow my drawing. But you can change that a little bit if you want. And then we're going to round all the edges. All right, here we go. So I'm going to make another construction line then. I'm going to come over here, left click and release, and I have my crosshairs, and what do I have? I have 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. All right, right here, right in the middle. Oh, well, I have 50 right down here. I don't have to count it. All right, so here we go. So left click and release, drag the mouse, and double click. And then let's get out of that crosshairs by hitting the escape button. And then right click and release, delete coincident, right click and release, normal construction. All right, there we go. And let's finish that sketch and see how it looks. All right, that looks pretty good. Okay, here we go. Let's go back, create sketch, left click and release. Let's go back to line, left click and release. And where are we? Okay, let's make it a little bit bigger here. Let's see, where are we? Let's see. Okay, we got to get this in the middle here. I'm just using my scroll wheel to move around the canvas. If I put my scroll wheel over here and I scroll, it enlarges the area around wherever I place the mouse arrow or the crosshairs. If I put the crosshairs right in the middle, then I'll be able to scroll and make everything larger directly from the middle. Okay, so there we go. All right, now we're going to draw actual lines that are going to be part of the boat. So here we go. I'll start at 0, 0. This is 0, 0, 0, right? Right here. This is 0, 0, 0. I'm going to left click and release and drag. Left click and release and drag. Left click and release and drag. And left click and release and drag. Left click and release and drag. Left click and release and drag, and double click. And there you go. You have the 2D drawing of the 3D hull of the 3D boat. That's it. All right, let's finish that sketch. See how it looks. All right, it looks pretty good. Okay, so we are ready to 3D extrude the hull. So let's do that. And we know all we have to do is highlight the area and turn it dark blue. Left click and release extrude. As I've told you before, I like to go back to the home button so I can see the arrow. And how high are we going to make the hull? I think I made it 20. Let's see. Yeah, that looks too big. Maybe it was 15. All right, let's take a look at the drawing. And let's see how high I made it. Let's see. Oh, I made it 15. 5, 10, 15. All right, there you go. Let's go back to your drawing. And we made it 15. Yes, I already stopped at 15. Let's take a look. Let's make a little area. 5, 10, 15. Okay, good. Remember, I always like to go back to the home button. Okay, there you go. Now let's round the edges. Let's round these edges. And let's round these edges to give it some aerodynamic properties. How do we do that? Very easy. We're just going to go to fillet. And we're just going to left click and release right there. And how much do we want to fillet it? If you want to make a speedboat, you're welcome to, but we can't fillet it too much because we need a flat surface over here to put the paddles, right? We need to put the paddles on a flat surface. So there's my fillet right there. And let's take a look. Okay, there's my fillet right there. Well, I want to modify it because it already registered. So I'm just going to come right down here. I'm going to right click on my fillet. I'm going to left click and release. And I have my arrow back. Remember, you can always edit from the tree. All right, so don't worry about it. All right, I'm just going to make this a little bit bigger. Let's see. I'm going to make it 100. 100 and enter. And there you go. All right, let's do the other side. Let's left click on the cube and just turn this around so we can see the other side. There we go. How about like that? And let's go to fillet, left click, release. Left click and release, and we can drag it to 100, which is a little difficult. So we'll just put in 100 into the text box right here, and we'll hit OK. And there we go. Let's take a look at the fillets. Oh, that looks pretty nice. Okay, and we have enough room to put the paddles on the sides. Okay, let's fillet the front of the boat. Let's pull that around so we can see the front. There we go. And let's left click and release fillet. Let's left click and release that. Now this was 5 millimeters, so if I want a point, or if I want a nice, perfectly round radius, I'll make this 2.5, and I'll make this fillet 2.5. So let's see, 2.5, enter, and then let's take a look at the other side. There we go, that's a nice shot. Go back to fillet, and go right there, and let's type in 2.5, enter, and there we go. Okay. And let's click on the home button. All right, let's spin it around and see how it looks. All right, so that looks pretty good for our hull. All right, next we have to shell the hull like we shelled the car. It's very easy to do. We're just going to go right here to shell and left click and release. And we're going to go right here and we're going to shell it. Now, how much are we going to shell it? I think we said, let me see how much I shelled it. Here's the shell right here. I'm going to right click and release on the boat I already did. I'm going to edit feature and I shelled it 1 millimeter. In other words, the body of the boat is going to be 1 millimeter thick. Okay, that sounds like a good idea. Let me cancel that so I don't ruin my drawing. Let me go back to your drawing and let's go back to shell. And let's left click and release and let's just type in 1. And there you go, it shows right up. 1 millimeter thick. Okay. Now it looks pretty nice. Okay, so now we're going to draw the deck. Let's take a look. We're going to draw this blue deck here, which means, by the way, that we have to create a plane right here so we can draw the deck on the plane. As a matter of fact, let me show you something. here's my plane right here that I drew the deck on. Okay, here's the shell and here's the plane. So I'm going to left click on that and release, then I'm going to right click. I'm going to go to edit feature and take a look. Watch what happens. If I want, I can pull this plane up. And when I pull that plane up and I hit OK, look what happens to everything that I drew on that plane. In fact, I can look inside my boat. There it is. Okay, let's put that back where it belongs. Let's right click and release. Let's go back to edit feature and let's pull that back down. Let's see, where did I have it? 15. Let's see. Okay. Okay, I left a little gap so that I can see that the deck is right near the hull. I just do that for myself. I mean, if I want, I can bring it back down, but I like to see the space so I know that I have two different parts that I'm drawing. Okay, so let me go back home. Anyway, I showed you that. Let's go back to your drawing and let's construct a plane. Now, where we're going to put the plane? The plane's got to be right here. Okay, right on there. We got to draw a plane right on here. So we're going to go to left click and release on construct. We're going to click offset plane and we're going to highlight right here and you're going to watch a plane is going to pop up. Watch this. Left click and release. Boom, there's our plane. Let's use the scroll wheel and see if we can see it. There it is. There's the plane. Let's spin it around before we hit OK. Well, obviously we have a plane. It's right there. Okay, we can move it up and down and we can do whatever we want with it. Here it is right here. I'm moving it up and I'm moving it down. All right, we want it at 0, obviously. Okay, so let's just click OK. All right, we have a plane on which to draw. Again, let's just go back to, okay, we're ready to draw. We can draw everything on top now, which goes pretty quickly at this point. All we have to do is outline the deck and extrude it, fillet the front, fillet the sides, and then draw on top of this with a simple cabin, and then put the bridge on top of the cabin, and then put the antenna on top of the bridge. It's really very easy to do once you know how to do it. Okay, now that we have our 3D hull shelled out and we created the plane on top, let's come over here and let's make sure we can see the plane because sometimes it hides itself. I'm going to left click release and you can see the plane now. I'm going to use the scroll wheel to make everything bigger so we can see there's the plane. So if I left click and release over here, I cannot see the plane. If I left click and release over here, I can see the plane. I want to see the plane so I can draw on it. Then we're going to come over here and we're going to left click and release create sketch and it's going to ask us pick a plane. Well, we don't want to pick this plane or this plane or this plane. We want to pick this plane. And if we can't see the plane, if over here the eyeball is not showing and we can't see the plane, then we can't pick the plane. So make sure you can see your plane so you can pick your plane. Okay, left click and release. So there we go. I'm picking a plane to draw on. And there it is. Just going to use the hand tool to pull it back over to the center. Then I'm going to use the escape tool and then I'm going to use the... Okay, so I am now drawing on the plane. And there it is again. Okay, it's invisible again. Let's make it visible. So I'm going to be drawing on the plane. And there it is. Now we have to come over here and we have to grids and snaps and we have to go next to the grids and snaps icon here where this arrow is and we're going to left click and release and we're going to left click and release snap to grid. So that way I have more control. I can draw directly on top of the hull so that I can make the blue deck. Okay, here we go. I'm going to left click and release line and I have my crosshairs and I'm going to make it bigger. Let's see, here we go. Let's make it as big as possible. How about like that? Okay, and here we go. So I'm coming right over here exactly right on the hull. And I'm going to left click and release. And I'm going to come right over here, left click and release. I'm going to come right to this point. Get it right on there, left click and release, left click and release, left click and release, and get it right there, left click and release, and double click. And there you go. We should see we have the blue line, which is actually going to be the 3D drawing of the blue deck. Okay, let's finish the sketch. And there we go. I can see the blue line. Here's the blue lines right here. When I hover over them, they turn dark blue. Okay, so now all we have to do now is, let's make it a little bigger so we can see it. We have to highlight and extrude, right? So we always hover over what we want to highlight, what we want to extrude until it highlights. And let's see, let's get it right in the right spot. There it is. There's the 2D drawing of the deck. And I'm going to left click and release and turn it dark blue. There you go. All we have to do now is left click, release, extrude, and we got our arrow. And I believe I made it, I don't remember. Let's see, let's take a look. Let's see, I made it 1, 2, 3. Looks like 3 millimeters. That makes sense. I usually use 3 millimeters for the thickness of objects. So just hover over the area you want to extrude, left click and release, it turns light blue, and when you move away from it, it turns dark blue. Left click and release, extrude, you have the arrow, and pull it up 3 millimeters, and there you go. We don't want it to join because we want to make it a new color. We want it to be a new body, and we're going to click OK, and let's take a look, see if we have, yep, there it is. Beautiful. Now, it's right on top of the hull. I want to bring it up a little bit because I want to see the inside of the hull as I draw. So I'm just going to right-click and release on the plane and the tree, and I'm going to edit feature, and I'm just going to bring it up 1 millimeter. And let's take a look. Yeah, there it is. So now it is very similar. Let's take a look. Let me see something. Let's get them both equal. There we go. All right, now we can bounce back and forth. Okay, so there it is. I just want a little space so I can just see that I know that I'm drawing on the hull. Okay, there we go. All right, let's go back to the home button. And this is very easy at this point. All we have to do is draw the green cabin, draw the yellow gold bridge, and draw the antenna. And we're done with the deck, cabin, bridge, and antenna. All right, here we go. Now, you do not have to draw the cabin and the bridge and the antenna exactly the way I drew it. Okay, if it's off by a couple of millimeters here and there, if your fillets are different than my fillets, that's fine. Okay. All right, here we go. So now I want to draw on top of here, right? Well, it's very easy. All I have to do is start a drawing again. Just go to Create, Sketch, Left Click, and Release. It's going to say, where do you want to draw on? So just make sure you don't click on this plane. Make sure you click on top. Not this plane, not this plane, not this plane, not this plane, on top. It says, select the plane or planar face. Left click and release, and there you go. Let's make it nice and big with the scroll wheel. And we're going to draw right on top of here. And here we go. I'm going to go to solid line, left click and release, and I'm going to draw my, let's see, I'm going to place it right there. And then I'm going to go right there. and then I'm going to go right there, and then I'm going to go right there, and there, and I'm going to go right there, and then I'm going to double click right there, and there's going to be my cabin. Let me finish that sketch. I hover over it until I highlight it in light gray. I click on it, it turns dark blue. I left click and release extrude. I have my arrow button. Let's take a look at how high we made it. It was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Looks like 9 millimeters. Okay, so we'll do it 9 millimeters. Let's take a look. Edit feature. All right, 10 millimeters. Okay, so let's make it 9 millimeters. All right, there you go. What's next? What's next is the bridge. Okay, let's draw the bridge. Let's go back to top. Let's get it nice and big. Let's go back to create sketch, left click and release. It asks you what plane you want to draw on. Again, make sure you're drawing on the top. You're not drawing on this plane. You're not drawing on this plane or this plane or this plane or this plane. You're drawing right here. So I'm going to click, and I'm going to use the scroll wheel, and let me make the bridge. Let me grab a line, and let's make a bridge. I think I'll make it right about there, and there, and there, and how about right about there, and there, and let's see, right there, and double click. And there you go, you have the 2D drawing of your bridge. Let's finish that sketch. Let's hover over it until it turns light gray. Left click and release, it turns dark blue. Left click and release extrude, you immediately have the button, the arrow there. And how high did I make that? I don't remember exactly. Looks like about 5. Let's see. Okay, it's not showing up. All right, well, it looks like about 5 millimeters. Okay. Here we go. I'll make it 7. Let's see how that looks. Yeah, 7 millimeters looks good. Okay, there you go. All right, let's create the antenna. Again, let's make it a little bit bigger here. Let's go over to create sketch. Let's hover over the plane we want to draw on. There it is. And let's grab a line. And let's create the antenna. And let's make it right there, right there, right there, and right there, and right there, right there. Okay, there you go. And let's finish that sketch. Let's go back to the home button. Let's make it bigger with the scroll wheel. Let's hover over it. And let's extrude it. Let's see, how high do we want to make an antenna? Yeah, I guess we want to make it pretty tall so it can receive the signal. All right, we want new body. We better make sure this was a new body, so let's go back. Did we make that into a new body? No. It's so very easy to forget to make something into a new body because it defaults to join. So just go back to the tree. Let's make sure we made the cabin a new body. It's right here. No, here's the cabin right here. All right, left click and release, edit feature. Look, that was joined too. So just left click and release, make it a new body. Now that everything's a new body, we can color each part separately. Okay, so we got the beginnings of the cabin, the bridge, and the antenna. Let's go back. And let's fillet. We have to fillet the cabin, we have to fillet the bridge, and we have to chamfer or angle the antenna. All right, here we go. All right, it's very easy to do. Just left click and release fillet, left click and release right here, and let's make it, I don't know, how about 5? Let's make it 5. And let's do the other side. We want to make that 5. And let's make that 5. Okay, it looks pretty good. Let's do the front. There we go. Let's fillet that. Let's fillet that. Let's see. How about 3? Okay, let's do a 3. Let's do the other side 3. Left click and release. Left click and release. Let's make that 3. Okay, that looks pretty good. There we go. All right, let's fillet the bridge. I want to make it 5 also. I'm going to make the other side 5. 5. Enter. What about the front? Let's spin it around. Let's fillet the front. I'll make it maybe 2. Yeah, 2 looks good. Hit enter. Let's get the other side done. Right here. 2, enter. That looks pretty good. Let's go back to the home button, see how it looks. How's it looking? All right, let's grab it and spin it around. Let's make it smaller so as we spin it, we can see what it looks like. Okay, that's looking pretty good. We still have to fillet the deck. That's okay, we can do it. Okay, all right, let's fillet the deck. Go to fillet. And if we recall, the deck was filleted 100 on either side. So that way it'll match. Okay, and go back to fillet. Make it bigger if you want so you can see that actual line. Spin it around if you want to see how the fillet looks. 100. Whoops. Click in here. 100. Oops, what happened? No, it looks pretty good. Hit enter. Now let's take a look. I'm looking at the top view to see, did we fillet everything properly? Yeah, it's all matching. As you can see, it all matches. What about the front? I think the front was 2.5 and 2.5. We'll see in a minute. Let's select that. 2.5. Yeah, it looks about right. Okay. Spin that around. And go to fillet. Whoops. Let's grab the hand and move it over because we can't see it because of the fillet pop-up box, which we really don't need, really. Okay, I'm in the hand tool, so I'm going to hit the escape button. Going back to fillet, left click and release. Left click and release. 2.5 type in. Hit enter. And let's take a look at that. Let's use the top view. Yeah, okay, looks like our fillets are all correct. And that the deck fillets are matching the hull fillets, right? Let's take a look over here. Yeah, okay, so the deck fillets are matching the hull fillets. Yep, all right, so that's good. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're now going to chamfer or angle the antenna so that we can make it look something like this. Okay, it doesn't have to be exactly like that, but just make it as close as you possibly can. So let's go back to your drawing. Let's use the scroll wheel. There it is right there. And we're just going to left click and release on modify, and we're going to left click and release on chamfer, which will help us make the angle. And we're going to choose this side right here. And you see we get an arrow. There's left click and hold, and drag it. And there you go. Okay, if you drag it too much, it gives you an error. So let's just stop right there. And let's click OK. And there you go. Like I said, it doesn't have to be exactly like mine. Okay, so now that we got that done, let's go back to the home button. And let's see what we got. Are we close? Let's see. Yeah, okay, let's do the paddles. Okay, it looks pretty good. It looks pretty good. Let's make sure that the antenna is a new body. Yes, the antenna is a new body. Okay, good. So we can color everything. All right, here we go. We're going to now do the paddles. We have to draw the paddles right here. In order to draw the paddles, we're going to go to Create Sketch. Left click and release. We're going to click right here, about in the middle here. And we're going to draw the paddles. Now the paddles are going to be drawn with an hexagon, a 6-sided polygon. All right, here we go. So we're going to go to Create, and we're going to go to Polygon, and we're going to go to Circumscribe Polygon, and we're going to find a spot to start. So let's use the scroll wheel and start. Let's see, we can start towards the back if we want. We can put the paddles towards the front. I'm just going to find a spot in the middle about. Right about there, looks pretty good. And I'm going to left click and release, and I'm going to drag it out. And as you can see, I'm getting a polygon, right? Okay, well that's good. Let's put the polygon like, how about like, how big are we going to make it? Let's see. Let's make it, got to make sure the paddles go in the water. So let's make it 10. Whoops. Whoops. What happened to 10? 1, 0. Okay, so let's make it 10. 10.077. Okay, it decided to default. That's fine. Okay, let's finish the sketch. And you can see we have a polygon. Now, what about extrusion of the polygon? Okay, you can extrude it as much as you want. Okay, don't make it too big, don't make it too small. Let's take a look. Remember what we have to do, right? We have to hover over whatever we want to extrude and make sure it turns gray. Okay, so hover over part 1, click on it, then hold down the shift button, part 2 of the polygon, and part 3 of the polygon. Now it's all dark blue. Now what we have to do is hover over extrude, and let's make it, looks like, let's make it 7, let's make it 8. Yeah, let's make it 8. And it's not a cut. I don't know why it's saying cut. It's a new body. There we go. Just be careful over here. You got all these, you got join, you got cut. We don't want join, we don't want cut, we want a new body. Anyway, there you go. Okay. Let's take a look. Okay, that looks about right. Okay, here we go. Now let's put the paddles on the polygon. We have to put these paddles right here on the polygon. Okay, well here we go. We're going to make this bigger so we can see it. And we're going to have to draw some construction lines so we can put the paddle directly in the middle of every side. So what we're going to have to do is we have to draw construction lines. So we're going to come over here to create. We're going to left click and release. We're going to come right here and we're going to click on that plane and we're going to create some construction lines. So let me grab a line and let's see, construction line number 1, double click. Construction line number 2, double click. Let me see something. Do we have snap to grid? No, it's not snapping to the grid, but it is snapping to the plane, okay, to the corners of the plane, which is very important. Now, we have to do this everywhere, by the way. So we have to draw in each plane. So let me finish that sketch. Let me go back to the home button. And you'll see we have these object lines, but we have to make them into construction lines, right? How do we make them into construction lines? Well, you remember we hover over them till they turn blue. We right click and we go to edit sketch. And then we hover over them again and we right click and we delete the coincident. And then we hover over them again and we click on normal construction and we turn them into a construction line. Okay. Delete coincident, Right click again and release, normal construction. So we now have two construction lines right here, which means now we can put the paddle directly in the middle, because otherwise how would we know where the middle is? Okay, we need construction lines to see what we're doing. All right, now you have to do that everywhere. All right, let's do another one. Let's go back, right click, release, edit sketch. We want to draw right on this plane. So let's click on there. Line, and whoops, that didn't work. All right, let's try this again. Let's go to the back. There we go. Okay, so how do we draw on this plane? Very easy, just left click and release. It says select the plane or plan of face to draw on. We're going to go right here, then we're going to grab a line, left click and release, and again we're going to draw our construction lines. It snaps to the corner, we're going to left click and release, and then we're going to double left click. And then we're going to finish the sketch, and we're going to come back over here and right click. We're going to go to edit sketch. We're going to right click and release again. We're going to go to delete coincident. We're going to right click release again, and we're going to go to normal construction. There we go, we got a nice construction line. And we got to go to right click and release, delete coincident, right click and release, normal construction line. Okay, so we did it for two parts. Okay, we got to now do underneath, on the side, and on top. So let's take a look at what we got here. We want to draw right on this plane right here. Okay, right on this plane. Let's go to, let's see, we want to draw on this plane right here. Okay, we'll figure it out. Let's spin the boat around a little bit so we can see what we're doing. And let's go create sketch. And we're now on this plane. Let's grab a line. Let's make it bigger so we can see it. It clicks to the corner, snaps to the corner. We left click and release, double left click and release, double left click, finish the sketch. Come back over here again, spin it around so we can see it. Okay, let's spin it around so we can see it. Okay, that looks pretty good. And we got to turn these into construction lines. So we're going to right click and release. We're going to left click and release and go to edit sketch. It turns blue. We're going to left click and release, delete coincident, right click and release, normal construction line. Right click and release, delete coincident, right click and release, normal construction line. And left click and release, finish sketch. Now we want to go to this plane. All right, well, you better highlight it. If you don't highlight it, you won't be able to draw on it. Okay, so we're going to go left click and release, create sketch, and there we go. We're going to left click and release a line. Let's make it bigger. Left click and release, double left click and release, double left click, finish the sketch. And let's go over here. Let's navigate to where we want to go. Okay, use the scroll wheel to navigate. And we want to right click and release and edit this sketch so we can turn the blue line into a construction line. Oops, what happened? Where are we? Oh, there you are. Okay, right click and release, delete coincident, right click and release, normal construction line. Right click and release, delete coincident, right click and release, normal construction line. And finish that sketch. All right, what's the next one? Let's see what we got. All right, I'm just navigating around to see where I'm at. There we are. We got to do this plane. All right, so left click and release and highlight that plane. Left click and release, create sketch. We're now on that plane. Let's make it bigger so we can see it. Left click and release and grab a line. left click and release, double left click and release, double left click, and left click and release, finish sketch. And let's just get this a little bigger. There we go. All right, right click and release, edit sketch, right click and release, delete coincident, right click and release, normal construction line, right click and release, delete coincident, right click and release, normal construction line, and left click and release, finish sketch. Okay, what do we have left? It looks like we have one more left. Let's see. What do we have left? Let's see. Oh, right there. We have this plane left. All right. Left click and release and highlight it. Left click and release, create sketch. Obviously, we want to draw right there. And let's grab a line. Again, left click and release, double left click and release, double left click and release, finish sketch. Make it bigger with the scroll wheel. Right click and release, edit sketch. Right click and release, delete coincident. Right click and release, normal construction line. Right click and release, delete coincident. And right click and release, normal construction line. There you go. Okay. Now, just to let you know, it's going to be a lot of work to do this, but we're going to mirror it across a plane and bring everything right over to the other side. So we won't have to redraw and reconstruct all these construction lines once we're done. And let me show you that. It's right over here. Here's that midplane. In fact, let's take a look at that midplane. Is that it? Let's see. Construction. Plane 1. Oh, okay, there's the first plane. Plane 2. Oh, there's some planes. I made some more planes so I could. Oh, this is interesting. I made planes, so all I had to do was draw it once and mirror it across the plane. So that's why I made these planes here. Okay, we'll take a look at that later. Let's look at the other plane I have. Is this the midplane? Yeah, here's the midplane. Let's see, where is that? There it is. There's the midplane. Here's the midplane that I used to mirror the paddle and the hexagon over to the other side. Okay, so we'll take a look at that in a minute. And here's the other plane that I drew the deck on. Okay, yeah, here's a whole bunch of planes I made over here. All right, here we go. Let's take a look. Okay, we now have to draw the paddles. So we're going to do the same thing. Let's start here. We're going to hover over the plane we want to draw on. We're going to turn it blue. And then we're going to come over here and grab, we're going to grab the, not the 2-point rectangle, let's grab the center rectangle. It'll be a lot easier to draw from the center than it will from the edges. So let's left click and release center rectangle, and look what we can do. We can come right over here. Okay, my computer is crashing. There it is. And I'm going to left click and release, and look what I can do. Look, right in the center. That's why we drew those construction lines. So let's get this, and it was exactly 8, right? Okay, so let's make it, you notice you have text boxes. Okay, so let's make it 2 and hit the tab button by 8. Okay, 2 by 8. So 2 wide by 8 long, or 2 long by 8 wide, depends on how you're looking at this. And let's hit the enter button. Now remember, you can hit the tab button and go back and forth. Take a look at what I'm doing. Okay, so let's hit the enter button, and there you go. Okay, that's how easy this is. Let's finish the sketch. Okay, so now we have to use our scroll wheel, make this a little bit bigger, and we need to hover over this area here, which is, by the way, a little tricky. There it is. Okay, we have to hover over this area until we see that it turns gray with a black outline. There it is. Click on it until it turns light blue. Now it turns dark blue, and all we have to do now is extrude it. And there it is. Now, how much are we going to extrude it? Let's see what I did. Let's get rid of these planes so we can see what we're doing here. Okay, how much did I extrude each one? Use your judgment. Okay, let's take a look. Let's hover over it again. There it is. Let's extrude it. And what you can do is you can go to the home button so you can see how much you're going to extrude it. Let's go to the front. And we can use our judgment. How much would you want to extrude a paddle? Well, I don't think you want it that big. Right? I think maybe, let's see, 15, 14, 12, 13, 14, 15. I think 15. So let's do it 15, and we don't want to cut, obviously, be careful. We want it to be a new body. Okay, and let's click OK. Let's see how it looks. All right, so there's our paddle. Okay, beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, let's do it again. It's very easy to do at this point. All we have to do is hover over the plane that you want to draw the paddle on. Make sure you highlight it. Click on it. Turn it blue. And then come over to Create Sketch. Left click and release. Come over to Create. Left click and release. Rectangle. Hover over rectangle. And remember, we want center rectangle. We don't want 2-point rectangle or 3-point rectangle. We want center rectangle. Watch how easy this is. Left click and releasing. I'm going to use my scroll wheel to make it bigger. Everything's going to snap. And we already know we want it to be 2 tab 8. Right? Look, the tab button goes back and forth. 2 tab 8. Enter. Whoops, what happened? All right, it's not working. No big deal. All we have to do is quickly double click on the number that is incorrect. This number is correct. Just quickly double click and you'll get the text box. Type in 8 and there you go. And finish sketch. And now all we have to do is highlight it. Well, you remember I like to go back to the home button to see what I'm doing. There we go. Let's highlight that. It's not easy to highlight because it's Fusion 360 doesn't know the difference between this plane and this area right here, but you'll get it eventually. Let's see. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, all we have to do now is use the scroll wheel, scroll up. Okay, that's good. And we have to highlight this area so we can 3D extrude it. And let's do that. Now, I noticed that for some reason, Fusion 360 is not able to distinguish between this plane and this plane that we just drew. Although, is that it right there? Let's see. No, that's just the construction line. So what I've been doing is I've been outlining the area using the Shift button. So I'm holding down Shift, left click and release, left click and release, left click and release, left click and release to outline the area, and then Fusion 360 looks like it will probably, there it is, it was just there, there it is. Okay, now left click and release. You got to turn that area blue. If you don't turn that area blue, it's not going to extrude. And go right over to extrude. There you have your arrow. We made it 15. So just pull it out to 15. And there you go. And we don't want join. Well, in this particular case, actually, we do want join now that I think about it because it's all black. So we could have join. Whoops, there it is. It already registered. Let me take a look. All right, it's join. That's okay. What about this one? Let's check out this part of the paddle. Whoop, wrong one. Where is it? Oh, here it is, right here. Okay, I'm just using the tree to see if it's joined. In this particular case, we can join them because we want all this black. anyway. We want the paddle and the hexagon to be the same color. Okay, let's keep going. Again, this is very easy to do. Just highlight the plane, come back over to create sketch, left click release. We want to go to left click release create. We want to hover over rectangle, and we want to left click release center rectangle. And let's use the scroll wheel. It snaps. We want it to be 2 by 8. It's very easy to do. Just get close and just type in 2 tab 8 enter. And there you go. Now again, if the number is not the same as what you typed in, don't worry about it. Just double click and do it again. Type in 8 and there you go. Okay, for some reason sometimes it doesn't register the numbers in the text box. Alright, finish sketch. Well, there it is. Now hopefully, oh, you see sometimes you can hover over it and there it is. There it is. Okay, good. Let's extrude it. Let's extrude it 15. We can just put the number in at this point to go faster. Beautiful. All right, let's keep going. Let's do the other side. I'm just navigating with the navigation cube and with the scroll wheel, and you can navigate with the hand too if you want, right? Let's get rid of the hand with the escape button. I'm highlighting the area I want to draw the paddle on, and I'm going back over to create sketch. I'm going to create, I'm going to rectangle, and I'm going to center rectangle. And again, it's going to click. Just make it approximately what you want it, and make it 2 tab 8. What about if I do 8? What? 8. Enter. Okay, for some reason it doesn't register my 8, so I'm just double clicking on 7.76, typing in 8 again, and let it register. And then I'm just hovering over. There it is. Make sure it turns dark blue, and we want a 15 again, right? You can just type in 15, enter. Now let's see how it's looking. Okay, we're getting there. Let's keep going. Let's hover over this plane that we want. Hover over create sketch, left click and release. And we're right here. We're going to draw on this plane. Create rectangle, center rectangle. It clicks right to the center. Get it approximately where you want it. Approximately 2 by 8. Type in 2, tab, 8. Oh, there you go. Okay, that one. Well, 8.021. Let's double click on that and make it exactly 8. And there we go. 2 by 8. Finish the sketch. Let's hover over it. There it is. Let's extrude it 15. Type in 15. And there you go. Oh, we have one more left, and we can mirror it. Let's hover over it. Let's create sketch. Let's go to, whoops, what happened? Create sketch. Okay, I don't know, for some reason that didn't work. Okay, hover over where you want to draw, right here. Make sure it turns blue. Hover over line. No, we don't want line, sorry. We want create, rectangle, center rectangle. Okay, and right. Okay, for some reason this one is not snapping. Okay, let's see. It should usually snaps. That's okay. Let's just get it right there. There you go. All right, 2 by 8. So 2 by 8. Enter. The 2 is correct. 7.856 is not correct. Just double click and type in 8 again. And there you go. Finish the sketch. Highlight that area. There it is. Turn it dark blue. Left click and release on extrude. Let's get that out of the way. And let's just type in 15. Oh, what happened? It looked like it thought it was a cut. Let's see. Let me do the undo button. There it is. All right, I'm doing it again. Left click and release. Highlight it blue. Extrude. Thinks it's a cut. We said we wanted to join, right? All right, let's pull it out 15. 15. Let's see, 15. All right, there you go. There's 15. There, you can let it join. Join on new body, probably. Let me see what it is. All right, so this one, let's see what they are. Yeah, this is a new body, this one. This is joined, this is joined, this is joined, this is joined. This one's a new body. I think we have to change that into edit feature, join. Oh, I don't know, for some reason it looks like it's a new body. Maybe it is a join. Okay, so we're done with that. Let's put the axle in right here. Okay, we have to put the axle in right here. That's pretty easy to do. Okay, so what we have to do is go to center diameter circle and go right here in the center. Place center point. And I think I made it 3. So let's make it 3, or let's make it 5. And enter. I don't know why it came out to 2.672. All we have to do is just double click on that and hit 5. There we go. That's a nice axle. And let's extrude it. Just hover over it. Make sure you highlight it. Whoop, there you go. And extrude. And let's just extrude it a little bit out so we can round it off. I think we could extrude it 3. Let's extrude it 3. Okay, and now we're going to fillet it. And let's fillet it. Let's see, how much can we fillet it? Whoops, I went too far. 2.5. That looks nice. Let's hit enter. Let's take a look. Let's see how it looks. Let's see how mine looks. Yeah, about the same. Okay, a little different. Doesn't have to be exactly like my boat. All right, now we have to create a midplane so we can mirror this across the other side so we don't have to redraw the paddle again on the other side, right? Which takes quite a long time, as you can see. Okay, so let's create a midplane. So let's go to construct and midplane. And then it's going to ask us select the planes. Okay, so we want the midplane to be between this plane and this plane. And there it is. There's our midplane. Let's see. There you go. Okay, one more time. You're over here. Just make it bigger so you can see it with the scroll wheel. Go to construct. Go to midplane. And then all you have to do is select the 2 planes that you want the midplane to be in between. So we want it to be between this plane, and then we want it to be, the next plane is this plane. And there it is, it immediately shows up. There's the midplane. And just click OK. Now all we have to do is mirror. Let's make it bigger so we can see it. Okay, ladies and gentlemen of Engineering 2100, I just figured out that we cannot join the paddles to the hexagon, because if we do that, the paddles are also going to join to the hull and to the deck, which means we won't be able to mirror the paddles and the hexagon across to the other side. So therefore, I had to go back, and you'll have to go back, and you'll have to right-click on every single extrusion and make sure it says new body. Okay? So for example, over here, this paddle that's showing up, right-click on it, edit feature, and make sure it says new body. If it doesn't say new body, it's not only going to join to the hexagon, it's going to join to the deck and the hull, and we won't be able to mirror it to the other side. Okay, so how do we mirror to the other side? Well, very easy. We already made the midplane. Okay, so we already made the midplane. And we're just going to go to create, mirror, and we're going to go to bodies. And we're going to click on bodies. And then you're going to see the bodies are going to highlight. And we're going to hold down shift and we're going to highlight all these bodies and connect them together with the shift button. Okay, including the axle. And then we're going to select the mirror plane. So go down here to select, click on this, and then click on that plane, and you're going to see that the hexagon and the paddles and the axle are going to mirror onto the other side. Watch. And there they are. Let's take a look before we hit OK. And there it is. And let's just click OK. Okay, there you go. Okay, so that was easy enough. Now, what else do we have left? We have the initials left and the keel left. Okay, let's do the keel. The keel is obviously on the bottom. So let's go to the bottom of the boat. Let's make it larger so we can see what we're doing. And we're very simply going to go to center triangle again. Or maybe we'll use 2-point triangle. Let's take a look. Left click and release. We want to draw on this plane. And let's grab 2-point right angle. That should work. Let's see, where do we want the keel? We want the keel in the middle, right? How about 3 by 20? Let's make it 3 by 20. So that's 20. Whoops. 20 by 3. Enter. Okay, I don't know why it doesn't exactly go to 20, so just double click on it, open up that text box again. Maybe there's a bug in the program. Anyway, 20 by 3, approximately. You can make it any length you want, but make it 3 width. All right, let's finish that sketch. We know what we have to do. We hover over it, we turn it blue. We go to extrude. Again, I like to go back home to see where I'm at. And let's grab it. It's a new body. And let's make the keel. 20. All right, so 20 by 20 by 3. Let's not join it. Let's make it into a new body. And there's your keel. All right. And now let's take a look what else we have to do. Well, we should make it somewhat aerodynamic, the keel. Okay. And let's do that. Let's get it in the right spot. I think first we'll chamfer it. Right there. Let's get it bigger right here. So let's just chamfer it a little bit. How about, yeah, I would say about like that. Okay. And then let's fillet it. Right about there. That looks pretty good. 7.50. That looks pretty good on mine. And let's see how it looks. Okay, that looks about right. Yeah, okay. Okay, anyway, let's take a look at everything. Let's see, do we have everything? No, we still have to do the initials. Okay, the initials are really easy, obviously. Just go to the back or go to the right, back of the boat, but the right of the cube, and just go to create sketch. We want to draw on this plane, obviously. Go to create, whoops, text, and let's just make a text box. And mine is MD. I like to use Arial Black because I can see it nice and clearly. Look, it's a little too big. Let's make it 8 points. Yeah, it looks about right. And now all we have to do is finish the sketch. Or right click and release. Go to press pull. Press pull is the same, almost the same as extrusion. Okay, and let's just grab it out. I usually make any type into a new body also, and I usually make it 2 millimeters as an extrusion. It doesn't have to be 3 millimeters. Okay, and there we go. We got MD. We are now going to color the boat. Here we go. Let's go to modify. Let's go to appearance. And we should get the coloring text box. We don't need this part. We don't need this part. And we're going to go to paint. Let's see, where is paint? Plastic, 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 wood. Okay, paint is already here. Glossy. Yeah, I like glossy. Whoops. What happened? Okay, there we go. Okay, so the hull I'm making red. You can make it whatever colors you want. I'm making my hull red. There we go. Here's my hull red. Click, drag, and drop. I'm making my deck blue. Where's my blue? There we go. My deck is blue. I'm making my cabin green. There you go. I'm making my bridge gold. And I'm making my antenna black. And I'm making my paddles black. Whoops. Remove appearances applied to bodies. Keep. Oh, there you go. Oh, look at that. It did everything at once. Well, I didn't want that to happen, but anyway, I like to make my initials gold. There you go. And yeah, that's good. I really wanted this a little bit different here, but I see that I must have connected the axle. Let me see something. No, there it is. The axle looks separate. Let's see if the axle is separate. Okay, hold on. So that's it. I'm done. And let's take a look at everything. That looks pretty nice. Let's see how it looks compared to the boat I originally did. Let's see. Oh, I made the keel gray. Oh, okay. Gray or black, doesn't really matter. That looks pretty good. Okay, there's my original boat. And here's the boat that you and I just drew. Let's take a look. Let's see, do we want to make the keel black? Let's go back, gray. Let's go to modify. Let's go to appearance. We don't need this. We don't need this. Let's just grab some other colors here. Well, we got, all right, so let's make the keel green. How about? There you go. Okay, you can make everything whatever color you want. Just make sure everything's different colors so I can see all the parts. And that's about it. Okay, and there is your 3D boat. Now, what else do you have to do? You have to save it, right? So you have to go to File, and you have to go to Save, right? Steam Danz's first project, 3D boat. I'm just going to hit 3D boat, and I'm going to say Fall 20 and Engineering 21. That's about it, and I'm going to save it. Okay, and there it is, 3D boat F20, Fall 20, Engineering 21, version 0. Well, Fusion 360 gives each version a number. How about the screenshot? Just go right down here and go to Snipping Tool. If you can't find Snipping Tool, right here in the Startup menu, just go to All Programs and go to Accessories and go to Snipping Tool. And there it is. And we're going to do full screen snip because I want to see the date and the time.